Hello and welcome everyone. I'm Majd Mirza, Chief Innovation Officer at Viedoc, and I'm here together with Claudio from BSI to talk about integrations.
My name is Claudio Schneider. I'm working for BSI Life Sciences, mainly in the project management area, and also responsible for support all about integrations.
So usually when we talk about data integrations, we talk about ETL, or extract, transform, and load pipelines. And what that means is that usually you have three different steps. You have an extract step, which is responsible for fetching the data or collecting the data from a source system. You have a transform step that maps or transforms the data that we have received into another format, because usually two systems, they don't have exactly the same data format, so you'll have to do some kind of transformation from one to another format. And finally, the load step is in which we push or load or send the data to the receiving system, and by that we have completed the cycle of extract, transform, load, where we have extracted the data from one system, transform it to match a destination system, and then load it to push it to a destination system. So this is a high-level overview of our data integration platform, and you see at the heart of it we have the ETL pipelines in addition to a data lake. And I'll just mention a small thing about the data lake. The reason we use a data lake is that in contrast to EDC systems that have traditionally used relational databases, we use a data lake here because when using wearables or medical devices that produce a lot of data, it is not longer feasible to store all of data in a relational database, but you would rather use a data lake that is more tailored to store huge amounts of data compared to relational databases. Now, in our data integration platform, we have a data API that we see here on the left, which is responsible for fetching or receiving the data from the from the source systems. So, for example, it could be wearables, it could be CTMS systems, any source that produces data. We could connect with a specific connector and receive the data from there. Then internally we'll do the transformation, and as you see on the right side is another data API that is responsible for pushing or making the data available for the destination systems. So the integration we're going to talk about today is a specific integration between the Viedoc EDC system and BSI CTMS system. And again, these integrations follow the ETL pipeline data integration. So we'll have an extract step, we have a transform step, we have a load step that do specific work in this integration. So we start with the extract step, in which we fetch the data from the Viedoc EDC system. In this case, we fetch the subjects, their status, and all the subject visits and their status. We then transform this data from the source data format that we get from Viedoc to the destination data format that the BSI CTMS expects to receive. And then we push that data using the BSI CTMS to make that available in the BSI CTMS system. And you see here that we can schedule this pipeline to be run each and every hour, every day, depending on the time or the timeliness that you want to receive the data in the CTMS system. So some studies might want to have a real time or very close to real time and run it every hour. And in some studies, you might run it daily and be happy with that. So here we are in the Viedoc selection page in our study, and you see we have a few patients already selected here and created. So in this study, we have a bunch of patients, and when we go into a specific patient, we'll see that this patient have a screening visit, a baseline visit, and they have different statuses, could be initiated, could be planned, etc. So each patient in this study have a status: screened, enrolled, randomized, or completed, and each and every patient also have a bunch of visits, and each and every visit have a status. And this is this information that we want to make available for the project managers in a CTMS system. So by this, I'll hand over to Claudio so we can see what happens on the other side of things and how this data will become available in the CTMS system.
Perfect. Thank you, mate. So let me just share my screen. So what you see here is the latest version of BSI CTMS, currently integrated with Viedoc EDC, respectively, the system which was shown by Majd a couple of seconds ago. And I'm currently logged in as a study manager, and you see here that I'm responsible for one study in my system here, which is the 2025 demo study here, which is a phase 3 trial currently tracked in BSI CTMS and which is integrating with Viedoc EDC. And to get some high-level overview, I can just double-click on my study here, which shows me a dashboard with the most relevant information. Here on the left-hand side, some overview on some details, respectively metadata of the trial, and on the right-hand side, you will even get some high-level overview, for example, on the subjects, where I will show you afterwards a little bit more in detail. So you see here, currently we have around 250 subjects planned here, and currently there are around 8 subjects actually screened now below this trial. And on the left-hand side, you see that we have a navigation available for this trial here. So I can go to my sites overview, for example, which shows you now exactly the same site as Majd showed before, respectively, which is now getting the information on the subject level, for example, from the EDC. And here exactly the same. If I double click on my site here, you get even some more details of the site. Again, on the left hand side, some metadata of the site, and on the right hand side, some high level information on the subjects. And of course, we don't only stay with the high level information, we can even do more, respectively, we can drill down to the details of the subjects, which actually means here on the left hand side, you see the subject's navigation point. I can click on this subject's navigation point, which shows me the integrated subjects, respectively the subjects which were received from Viedoc EDC in that case. And as Majd mentioned before, in relation to the synchronization, you can actually define if it, for example, should be done on a daily basis, on an hourly basis, on a second day basis. That's really up to you. So you can decide that on your own.
And sorry, Claudio.
Oh, yep, of course.
Just to interrupt quickly, I mean, one thing that I like with this is that in Viedoc, everything is study centric. So usually you work within one study. But as I understand here in CTMS systems, you can have multiple studies and you have an overview of all of these. So in this case, we only have one study linked, but you could have multiple studies in Viedoc and the same project manager having an overview of all of these studies in one screen in the CTMS, right?
Exactly. That's a big benefit, actually. So you can, as you mentioned, it's like a multi-study system in the end, respectively, if you are responsible for 2, 3, or even more studies, and everything is integrating with Viedoc EDC. That's basically then possible to do like an overall reporting over all the data which is received from the EDC system over all studies where you have responsibility for. That's exactly correct. So what you see here now is the overview on subjects below my site 33 here on the left hand side. I basically just clicked on the subject path here, and you will immediately get the overview on the subjects which are tracked currently below my site here. And to even get a little bit more information on a subject, we can, for example, select the first subject here on the list, which was also shown before by Majd. So you see you have some overview here on the general overview on all subjects, including the screen date, latest visit date, etc. And same here as we have for sites and studies. You can just double click the subject, and then you get again to a dashboard which shows you the metadata of the subject, which is collected, respectively pushed over from Viedoc EDC to BSI CTMS. Now, on the left-hand side, you even see some more details. You have now the possibility to go to subject visits, for example, which are then also directly synced, respectively pushed over to BSI CTMS by Viedoc EDC. And you see here currently the 2 visits on the screen, screening and baseline, which happened on January 22nd, and they have even the status, respectively, which basically was sent over and synced over from the Viedoc EDC to give you a proper overview, even on the subject visits below this subject. And to come to an end from my part, we do support here also configuration possibilities. So now I have shown you the standard configuration, including the integration, which was shown by from Viedoc by Majd, and we are open here to configure it according to your needs. For example, if you want to track additional fields, and as mentioned, also in relation to the synchronization, if it should be on an hourly basis, daily basis, that's everything up for definition together with the specific clients.
So that's actually interesting, Claudio, because although we have a baseline integration here, we know that studies do differ, and you might have specific requirements in one study that you don't have in another. So although there is a base integration here, it's always possible both in Viedoc and in BSI to customize with additional fields or different statuses to support the different needs in different studies, basically.
That's correct, yeah.
Finally, I would want to end with this screen, and just to give you another overview of this integration. So this is our data integration platform, and the integration we just talked about will follow the following path. So you'll see that data was fetched from the EDC. It was stored then in the data lake. We transformed the data to match the format of the receiving system, and then we send the data to BSI CTMS using their API. And like mentioned, we have extracted all the subject statuses, the visits and the visit statuses, including the dates, etc., and made them available to the CTMS system. So by that, 2 users using the EDC and another project manager using the CTMS system can have timely access to the data, both using their preferred system or the system that supports their work. Thank you very much. Very happy to have you here, Claudio. This integration between Viedoc and BSI CTMS, I think, is very helpful for many studies. And if you want to know more or get a demo either by Viedoc or BSI or us together, please reach out to the respective study teams, and we will be very happy to help you. Thank you, Claudio.
Thank you too.